Unscripted, unshackled, uncouth.
What you're about to hear is for more mature audiences only.
It's Miguel and Holly, Uncensored.
Hello and welcome to Miguel and Holly Uncensored. This is our off-air podcast that we do 3 times a week on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Make sure to check out our other podcasts like Miguel and Holly Full Show, Blown Off, Queen City Confessions. And if you have us on the iHeartRadio app, make Hits 96.1 one of your top presets, because you can do that now where you can you don't have to search for Hits 96.1 if you listen to the show live. You can always just slide it right there, and you can slide Uncensored, all the other ones, so you can always have access to it on the new and improved iHeartRadio app.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yes.
Fill up your presets with us.
Yeah. Also, too, on the Miguel and Holly / Platypus Posse Facebook group, I can't remember. I don't know if it was Doe Eyes or someone else had mentioned that they couldn't find our grocery store playlist we did on the air. I created a playlist because we were talking about how in grocery stores now it's songs from our youth that they're now playing at the grocery store.
Hashtag old.
And so I made a playlist with your suggestions, and let me know if there are more songs that you want me to add to it, because I have it in my presets. And when I'm in the grocery store, I'm like, all right, come on, let's get with it, girl. Yes, that was Doe Eyes. So you can get the link for that playlist for the iHeartRadio app in the Platypus Posse / Miguel and Holly fam Facebook group. The Super Bowl was last night. Let's talk about it.
Hell yeah.
Let's get into it.
So I want to start from the top with food, of course.
Of course.
Yes.
So we did do a whole break this morning about like what we had. Well, what Holly and I had for Super Bowl food. Kelvin, like, did y'all even say the word Super Bowl yesterday in your house?
I remember being like, what's today? What are we doing? And Oscar was like, is it the Super Bowl? I don't even remember. And I was like, yeah. And then we continued our day.
What's weird, I literally thought to myself yesterday, are there people that just fully act like it's not happening at all? And the answer, I guess, is yes. That would be.
Yeah. I mean, this year, like, reminding you guys, like, my friend is moving, in the middle of moving. The other one moved to San Diego. Like, it's not like there's any excitement towards any plans. And then the friends that we do have here are like club friends, right? Or like, oh, I saw you at Broken Promises, this bar in South End. Like, that, you know, so we don't really have those kind of friends to really hype up a party or anything like that. So, yeah.
And you don't care about the teams. And frankly, you don't care about football. So
I don't, but I would still go out. Like, I still like to eat. I still like to drink. I still like to other activities.
Have a good time.
Yeah. So it was just kind of quiet.
Yeah, we got invited to a friend's place for the Super Bowl, but we did it one year, and I just remember being so tired by the time we got to like the show the next morning, because like I didn't drink heavily that night, but just being around people and being social, when usually Sundays I don't open my mouth to say like more than 3 words. And so that's why I was like, I'm sorry, we cannot make it. But here's my question though. So like this morning we did a whole topic or just talked about what we ate yesterday. And I made these delicious buffalo chicken enchiladas. And by the way, if you go to Harris Teeter, you can get rotisserie chicken from, like, they take it off the chicken and have it in a little container.
Oh.
And so that saved me some time. I was so anyway, a little hack there if you want to have some chicken to make for whatever dish. But they were so good.
Were all the bones taken out?
Yep.
All of them?
All of them, yep.
Nothing pisses me off like chewing, and then there's that hard piece or some really weird, strange. I'm a very texture when it comes to my mouth.
Yeah. No, it was perfect. But it's super, super simple recipe to make. But I had went out Saturday night when I said I wasn't going to. So I had more drinks than I was planning on. And so Sunday night, my stomach was like, bitch, you close to 40. So I didn't have like a huge appetite. So now we have these 5 buffalo chicken enchiladas left. Do you have to now eat the leftovers? Because food's expensive, but then so many calories, and it was supposed to be just like that one meal. And so now I'm like, because Abe, put the leftovers away, and I'm like, do we have that for dinner tonight? Or do we have because I pulled out some boneless, skinless buffalo thighs, and I was going to go to the store and get our veggies for the night, and that was going to be dinner. Do you do it one more night?
Maybe you do it tomorrow night.
The
enchiladas.
Oh, so okay, so you reset.
Get a healthy dinner tonight because 2 days in a row might be a little rough. But you could like switch it up tonight. You already got that ready, and then tomorrow night you do enchiladas to wrap it up if you want.
Okay, I'm not mad at that. I
think that's what we're doing with our buffalo chicken chili, which is truly, it's not bad for you.
Right.
It's just, it can be a lot because there's also no vegetables that go with it except you're eating it with celery. So I'm like, could we throw something? We gotta get something green somewhere in here. But
oh, you know what? That's what we'll do. We'll add, because we had nary a vegetable was anywhere yesterday with all the food.
No vegetable was to be seen.
Just get it out of the way.
Yeah,
have it.
Maybe we'll have some vegetables with the buffalo chicken enchiladas tomorrow. So okay,
good.
Thank you. Okay, so if you have some leftovers, Holly's giving us a plan. Tonight, let's get on the train, and then tomorrow we'll
derail
dip back in,
and then get back on.
Okay.
Give your body a break.
So I wanted to spend some more time dissecting Kendrick Lamar's performance at the halftime show yesterday, because there were so many layers
on layers. I woke up this morning and that was my threads, which was great because I knew after the performance last night, I was like, I didn't understand this. It's not for me to understand, but what I want to do is do a deep dive. And that's what I was even telling my friends. I was like, I can't wait to look into this. And so I obviously didn't have time yesterday, but then when I woke up this morning, I saw some people that had already done their homework on threads and did like some explanations or some explainers. I'm sure there's on TikTok, and I'm sure there's on other stuff too.
So I found a video. So there was one I found on Instagram I liked, but it was mostly just words over his performance, and I didn't want to sit here and have to like read through it all. So full disclosure, I haven't watched this entire TikTok, but I did find one where the girl says, let's overanalyze Kendrick Lamar's Super Bowl halftime performance.
Oh, I love a good overanalyzation.
Thank God for those.
Right? That's why I was like,
'cause,
thank you, girl, for staying up late and analyzing this.
Doing the research and putting all of it together. Well, hopefully, I mean, none of us has vetted this.
Right, I'm about to say, that's why I say I haven't watched this, so I don't know if I watched like the first 30 seconds and make sure it wasn't like something ridiculous. So let's just sort of see what this girl says. And her name on here is Author McMahon.
McMahon.
All right, so let's see what she says.
Kendrick Lamar's halftime show at the Super Bowl. Keyword overanalyze. So if you think it's not that deep, just keep scrolling. So right off the bat, we have Samuel L. Jackson as Uncle Sam. First off, love this, and I love the suit. But Uncle Sam is representative of what America is, and I think it is a very powerful statement that it is a black man.
Which, by the way, I loved when Samuel L. Jackson walked out. I was like, okay, the table is set. I'm ready for whatever's about to happen.
I was excited that he was there too. I was like, okay.
Yeah. Like, and his voice just has so much gravitas that I was just like, yes, he is the master of ceremonies right now.
Yeah.
It's a really interesting pretense for what the entire performance is going to be about. So the performance starts and we immediately see more of that red, white, and blue imagery. And Kendrick starts singing the song Squabble Up. And if that is not indicative that he wants to squabble up with Trump, who is in the audience, he adds a line that is not in the original song. He says, the revolution about to be televised, you picked the right time, but the wrong guy. He's saying the NFL is about to televise his revolution, his FU to America, and all of these powerful men sitting in the audience. I mean, Rupert Murdoch is literally in the audience. For any girlies that doesn't ring a bell for, that's the owner of Fox, and actually who Succession was based off of, one of the few people. So then we cut back.
By the way, so I didn't realize that Trump was in the audience.
Oh, what? You didn't?
It
was a big thing. Oh, Trump's going to be the first president that's ever gone to the Super Bowl.
Girl. Working hard.
For some reason, I missed that, and it wasn't until afterwards. Because we didn't watch any of the pre-show stuff. We literally just turned it on like right when God, what was his face who did the national anthem?
John Baptiste.
Yes, we turned it on like right then. So I totally missed that, and then I was like, he was in the audience during Kendrick Lamar?
Yeah.
Girl.
Yeah.
And then, and like we always say, obviously we don't talk about politics on our morning show, but on the podcast we do. my feathers were a little ruffled with all the Fox News commercials that they kept airing.
What Fox News commercials?
We watched it on Tubi, I think. That's how we watched it.
Okay.
They had a lot of promos for Fox News because it was broadcast on Fox Network, which obviously owns Fox News.
Yeah.
And they had a lot of promos for Sean Hannity and Brett Baer and all of the
I
Fox
did not
News.
see. We saw it on actual TV, and I saw not any of that.
Did you? Or Kelvin, you didn't watch. So.
No.
He's just here to have fun.
Yeah.
Back to Samuel L. Jackson, who is really upset, and he's like, no, it's too loud, it's too reckless, it's too ghetto. And he says, Mr. Lamar, do you know how to play the game? Once we get more into the performance, which I'll come back to, we see this square, a triangle, an X, and a circle, which reminds me of a game controller. Now, let me reiterate, I do not know Mr. Lamar's intentions behind this performance. I can be totally reading into this, and that's okay. However, from the imagery of the show to what Samuel L. Jackson's saying, to what Kendrick Lamar is saying, to all the red, white, and blue, I really highly doubt it's about playing a video game. I think there's a different game that Kendrick Lamar is referring to. So besides the little controller points, there is a street that is basically the main stage. You can tell because there's street lamps. So after Kendrick Lamar sings and on the street, Samuel L. Jackson comes back and he's like, oh, you brought your homeboys. The old culture cheat code, another reference to a game. And then he says, scorekeeper, deduct 1 life. Which again, I think we're operating under this thinly veiled guise of what Black people have to deal with, or America right now, as a game. Because my personal interpretation of having this street here, especially when the game is set in New Orleans, is very parallel to the New Orleans truck attack. 15 people were killed and 57 were injured. Another instance of the everyday violence Americans have to deal with, but somehow the government just seems to push past with no real change or action involved.
Now, Holly, is this when you were referencing the Squid Games, how this was set up?
Mm-hmm. And I think there's a couple of different ways you can take it. So yes, I've seen the take that it's like a PlayStation controller where you're playing a game. The government, it's not even the government at this point. It's like the media, and all of them are, the billionaires are all in cahoots to play this game with your everyday, peons that we are in America. And the game that Samuel L. Jackson is referring to is like, do you know the steps that you're supposed to take as like the underlings? And then also per Black culture, for like the Black people that are had to play the game to get what they have with white America. So there's a lot. This one we say there's layers. There's a lot of layers. So the game controller I can see, but also I saw a take from somebody on Threads that was like, it was Squid Game symbolism, because the triangle and the like, those are also symbolic in that show. And so it could be both. It could be, it could just be one or the other. But this person that was talking about Squid Game, is the whole premise of that show is you've got these elite rich class who are just toying with poor people, and you're just going to eliminate them. Like, their lives don't matter. It's just entertainment. And so you've got people that can be just eliminated immediately. So get them out of here. If they're done, just kill them off. And so there's a lot of different layers with the whole way that the stage is laid out with these symbols, I think.
There is and we'll play a little bit of the video that I found on Instagram, because I think that video talks about how all the dancers coming out of the car, and how it was just like, I remember
we also were like, how many people are in that car?
Like, literally, I was like, girl, hasn't 6 people come out of that car? And then they just kept spilling out.
Yeah.
But that video goes more into the symbolism behind that. Also, too, what I find so interesting, just as a difference in how entertainment is set up, like, our job as radio people is to always over explain everything.
Yes.
Because when you listen to our show, we start at 6 o'clock in the morning and we go till 10, but we know that you don't schedule your morning routine around our show. You just hop in your car and you get in. And so we could be in the middle of a segment. And so we're taught how to reset every couple of seconds or minutes. So if you do get in the car in the middle of a conversation, you can get caught up with what we're doing. But singers, they're always just like, figure it out.
Right.
Figure out my art.
That's art. That's
Right.
art in general. We are technically the media. Like, is what we do in art? Yes. But it's
Right.
not like an artist would do, like a painting or a song or a ballet. You have to figure it out what they mean. And it's also open to interpretation a lot of the time because it can mean several different things.
I wish we could do that with our show. Like, you have to guess what the art is.
We have to hit
God.
you over the head with the meaning 17 different times, and someone's still not going to get it. So,
and I appreciate Vanessa P, who said, "Wrong, Miguel. I do schedule my routine to y'all's show."
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So Samuel L. Jackson saying "Scorekeeper, deduct one life," to me personally is, very reminiscent of how disproportionately Black people are murdered in the U.S. Obviously, SZA pops out and it's amazing and beautiful and she's perfect. And also Serena Williams is there, which I think is a really good moment to honor women in sports, considering, the NFL. But Kendrick ends the performance with TV Off, which is a really interesting song because it actually talks about him, about to perform in the Super Bowl. Another instance where he's saying this revolution been televised. A lot of these lyrics pull together some of the themes I've been noticing, which is just violence against Black people in multiple different forms. Not just murder, but also severe lack of mental health resources. And I think this is a really interesting song to end with because it says, somebody's got to do it, meaning like somebody's got to talk about all of this. And then again, turn his TV off, turn his TV off. He says it repeatedly until, the performance ends. Which, with all this talk and imagery about a revolution, this phrase seems to align itself with Gil Scott-Heron's "The revolution will not be televised." Kendrick is saying, turn your TV off and do something about it. Stop watching the Super Bowl. And then the performance ends, and this is the best picture I can get of it, but in the audience stands, you could see game over. And let me reiterate before I end this video, this is just my personal interpretation of this. Obviously, I do not speak for Kendrick Lamar. I don't speak for the Black community. This is just what I pulled together from my viewing of the performance and what I already know, and I'm happy to be corrected.
I give her credit for putting that together right after the Super Bowl.
That was a lot. And she didn't, and I mean, that was just on some of the overt symbolism. Like there is a lot more, but like the fact that she got it out that quickly.
Right. Like, girl.
That was great. She didn't talk about the flag. The flag, of course, with all of these Black performers dancing, symbolizing that this country was founded on the backs of free labor of Black people.
Yeah.
And then it splits right down the middle with Kendrick in the middle. And it's speaking to the fact that this country is in a divide, like a complete, literally right down the middle. I mean, that one couldn't be more clear.
Right.
But it was still also just very well choreographed.
Yeah. And I think I read a review this morning that said that, I want to get this phrase right, that Kendrick's, like his actual, like him rapping and dancing and choreography, he did it with surgical precision. The way that his breath control, because he goes really fast.
Yeah.
And the way that he was able to dance and rap without losing his breath, it was well done.
It's
Rapping
a lot.
isn't easy.
No.
Like at all.
No.
As the
So
raptress of the show. But no, seriously, it is a lot, especially doing it for 13 minutes in a row.
Right.
So this is another video from Izzy Kitty 27 on Instagram.
Is there a person of color, a Black person that has been able to break this down?
So when like I said, I did a quick Google search and I could not find any that came up, but that was just
they're
my
on
Google
Threads.
search.
I can read you a couple.
Okay, yeah, we'll go through that. These are just the videos, just because I wanted something, not just reading it the whole time. Symbolism from Kendrick Lamar's halftime. It said the dancers all come from the car but end up separated. They all come together to form the American flag. And then there's the A minor chain that Kendrick Lamar had around his chest. And then only the people in the inner circle survive.
I did notice that. I did notice
saw
that.
I saw that everyone was down, but I was like, I don't know what this means. That's why I was like, I gotta do some research.
And then say some people are taking steps back while others are taking steps forward. This is when they're coming down the platform area. Samuel L. Jackson being Uncle Sam, the United States telling him that music is too loud, reckless, and ghetto. And then the stage being shaped like a video game. Lights in the crowd saying it's game over. And then what the lady said about the revolution. This is the quick one. Holly, what are some of the threads you saw?
This one is a little bit deeper and subtextual than most, but so I'll kind of try to go quickly because it can get tedious. I know, me just reading it. But this, let me see. I don't know. Upanza Gautam on Threads says, the performance wasn't just a spectacle, it was a masterclass in layered storytelling, restraint, and subversion. Beneath the music, he was teaching us how to think critically, not just consume. Here are 7 lessons we can take. Number 1, the power of subtext. We're too conditioned to expect things to be spelled out. Lamar reminds us that the most potent messages live in the subtext, so read between the lines. Number 2, emotional intelligence over outrage. Our world rewards knee-jerk reaction, but his artistry is slow burning. He doesn't scream his message, he layers them, knowing that truth sinks deeper when delivered with precision. So don't react immediately. Sit with your information, question your assumptions, and analyze the deeper motivations behind what you see. Number 3, mastering restraint is a superpower. Modern culture values spectacle, virality, excess. He chose artistry over meme-worthy moments, a deliberate rejection of cheap attention. Not every moment needs to be maximized for clout. True mastery lies in knowing what not to do.
And I feel like that's also a little bit of a shot at Drake because that's what
gaudy.
Drake is.
Yes.
He lives in the meme world.
meme.
Viral.
Yeah.
Yes,
So that makes
exactly.
sense.
Question the narratives you're given. If something is presented as truth, he asks, whose truth? His work challenges dominant narratives, urging us to look beyond mainstream discourse. So be skeptical of the first explanation you're given. Seek multiple perspectives. Number 5, the best thinkers leave room for interpretation, which is what we were talking about. Most of us want clean answers, but Lamar thrives in ambiguity. His work invites discussion rather than dictating meaning. If you're always looking for the correct take, you're missing the point. Great thinkers don't just consume, they grapple, question, and sit with discomfort. Number 6, symbolism is a lost art. Reclaim it. We're losing the ability to recognize symbols because we've been trained to process everything literally. Lamar revives the power of imagery. Whether it was the choreography, the color choices, the presence of figures like Samuel L. Jackson's Uncle Sam, train your brain to notice patterns and symbols. Everything means something if you're paying attention. And finally, 7, culture moves when we take risks. He didn't follow the halftime show formula. He took a risk, and that risk sparked dialogue. If you want to move culture, whether in art, business, or life, you have to be willing to do what others won't. Safe choices don't make history. Kendrick Lamar didn't just perform, he challenges. He forces us to engage actively and to think. The question is, are you paying attention? I just saw that my best friend tagged me in this, and she was like, there's a good thread on the performance.
Shout out.
It is wild that I didn't see that, and I already she knows. So yes, I loved that breakdown because it wasn't just here's what this meant and here's what it was. It's teaching you how to do the work on your own, which is look for the deeper meanings and the deeper symbolism, because some of the stuff, no one's going to get every single thing, but we're also not meant to. I mean, you take what resonates with you a lot from art. And so just having him do the show the way he did, the biggest complaint that I came across on Facebook, and I mean, first of all, we're going to throw out the takes of people that were like, that was trash.
Girl, you immediately are just written off if you look at something like that and you can't even have the maturity to go, I don't understand it, but I can see how it's speaking on something that I don't get.
Or I just don't particularly like that music.
Or
I
that
don't like
style.
the dancing they were doing. I can accept that because you're telling me something that, you find as a choice.
Right. Because it's like
yeah.
Well, I was gonna say, it's like I always say about my husband Abe's type of music. Like, he listens to a lot of alternative music that it does not speak to me. I don't get it, but I understand that it's musically great and what they're saying speaks to him on a deeper level. So I would never just write off someone's performance, or what they're trying to say because it just doesn't speak to me.
Well, there's a point to everything. Like
Right.
nothing is nobody gets to a level of like you're being paid big money as an entertainer because it's just a random bunch of shit.
Right.
Those people don't make it to that level. You can't headline a Super Bowl halftime show unless you're providing something.
Right. Not have something to say.
Something. And maybe the something is that you are a really great piece of like pop culture relevance, because I would put Katy Perry into that bucket, you know? Like she was super relevant at that time. It was speaking to what is our culture really doing in this moment, even if her work with Left Shark maybe was not like the most intrepid, whatever.
Right.
But nothing is on accident. Like everything got planned out for some reason. So we should always look for that deeper reason. But if you're just saying it's trash, what sort of what did you base that opinion on? Because you didn't like it? Because that's your opinion. You can't call something else trash if you're just basing it on your own opinion. Like it just doesn't work that way, because art is subjective, and someone is going to not like something and someone is going to love something, and it's never trash. And so I just feel like that's a very we're not even paying attention to those people. So that's off.
People truly just don't like things they don't understand.
Right.
And
They
the way
don't-
that they
they
played
don't.
this halftime show was just really, really smart.
Yes.
I mean, they could have put it all over our face, right? The injustices,
It could have been
all
in
of
your
it.
face.
It really could have been on your face. But I feel like the backlash of that is just not worth it. They would rather have you be like, oh, look, red, white, and blue. Okay, it's kind of American. They lead you in.
Right.
And then it's up to you to search and Google and learn a little bit
To get that.
to get
And
that message across. Yeah.
That's what I was going to say as my follow-up. You hit the nail on the head with the take that I saw most was people that were like, I like Kendrick, or like, this is no shade to Kendrick, or like whatever, because I almost feel like you needed to put that out so that nobody is like, well, hold on. Do you hate black people? So no shade to Kendrick, but it just wasn't very high energy. I didn't like the performance. There was nothing big that jumped out at me. I really feel like he fumbled, pun intended, I guess, this one, because it wasn't, a spectacle. And to Kelvin's point, it actually couldn't really be a spectacle. Not only do I think he didn't want to do one, like that thread was talking about how it's more powerful to like slip in with your message and let it sink and spread than just to punch you in the face with it.
Right.
But it did reel in like some of those boomers maybe, or, people that are set in their ways about what America is. And he's got red, white, and blue, which I think was such a good choice of anything. So you're reeling in, because obviously my guess, and he's got that divided American flag, there's a lot of people that are like super pro-Trump, super not into this type of rap. Not to generalize, but I feel like there's a lot of people in that same camp. You can like both. You can like rap and you can also like Trump. That's obviously a thing. But, some people would say there's like a bigger divide, that the people that really, really love Trump aren't necessarily listening to Kendrick Lamar and vice versa. However, when he's doing that, you're inviting everybody to the table because you want them to lean in and feel included, welcome. Like you are, it's not an instant turn off.
Correct.
It's almost like a soft open where it's like, okay, now I'm a little interested to see what this is all about. And then you can quietly deliver the message. Think Meryl Streep in The Devil Wears Prada. She was scarier because she never yelled, right? It's the same message. It's a more serious message. And it was delivered in the exact way that it needed to be. Because if he would have come out and put on this whole like brash sort of hip hop of the 90s, like, that type of thing, it would have been an instant turnoff for anybody that doesn't like that type of music. But it was encouraging people that might not like that type of music to lean in a little bit. And I thought that was brilliant.
Well, that's sort of what I did with my father-in-law. Because we were talking with him and my mother-in-law before the game yesterday, because they were watching it, and he's not like a big rap person. And I was like, well, Kendrick Lamar won a Pulitzer Prize for his lyrics. And he was like, really? And I was like,
Right.
yes, he's considered one of the greatest poets of our time. So when you take what you think of rap music and rapping, and it's like, bang, bang, hit 'em up from the 90s, probably what you remember it
Right.
being, it's so much more deeper and the layers in it. And my father-in-law was like, huh, I didn't know that. Okay. Well, now you brought a different perspective that'll make me look at this through a different lens. And so that's why I think it was so brilliant, and how he did it, and just to really showcase that we are living in very serious times. And like, yes, as fun as it would have been to have, Katy Perry up there with Left Shark, or, when Shakira and J-Lo, were
We're
doing
shaking it. When Lady Gaga jumped in.
ah! Or Beyonce, yes, those are fun but we're living in not fun times. And so sometimes you got to take away the booty shaking to really understand what is happening, because some serious shit is happening to us right now and gonna continue to happen.
Right.
I mean, like, literally, they're talking about ignoring judges' orders.
Yes.
That is a constitutional crisis that we are reaching.
JD Vance literally said, I don't see why we have to. Well, he didn't literally say this.
Right.
He's paraphrasing.
But it was
he
close
said
to it.
something along the lines of, I think it's unconstitutional for judges to stop the president.
And we should root out corrupt judges.
Judges. You put those judges in there.
That's literally why we have checks and balances. Anyway,
it doesn't matter. Like, this is what. Okay, man.
So we're living in serious times that calls for a serious message for hopefully people that someone like my father-in-law, who is not Republican by any means of the course of the imagination.
No, he's not.
No, he's not. But he was like, oh, he may do a little deeper dive, to take a look at some of Kendrick Lamar's work. And Holly, I just thought about, remember like years ago when you asked me on one MLK weekend, you were like, how do I celebrate MLK? And I was like, just listen to All Right by Kendrick Lamar. That teaches you a message. We gonna be all right.
Oh.
But like taking a deeper dive into these sort of things and to truly understand what's happening, because some of the best art comes in dark times.
Yes.
Like we're about to go into, or like we are in right now.
Right. Art thrives in times like this. It really does. So I thought upon further reflection, I was very impressed. I already was like, I like what they're doing. I was unfamiliar with about half the songs.
Right.
Yeah.
Same. So, and I knew that was going to be a downer. And I was like, that's the only problem, is that people, even that might be interested in learning the message, who maybe weren't that familiar with Kendrick Lamar's work, were going to be turned off because they're like, I just wanted some entertainment and I wanted to like this, but I don't know this music. And that's unfortunate, but what are you going to do about that? Like, that is just what it is.
Right.
I didn't know any of the music that the Who was playing back in the day, and everybody else liked that one.
I remember when it was like Boomer Central for the Super Bowl after Janet Jackson.
Yes,
they
were
was
like, we shan't pop music for.
I think they called it Old Man with a Guitar for like 3 or 4 years, where it was like,
it was a long run.
really? We get out of this.
Yeah.
Let's see. Doe I said, my almost 70-year-old mother loved the performance. She had a hard time understanding what he was saying, but she really enjoyed it. Yeah, I agree, because Kendrick Lamar raps so fast. I'm like, I wish there were subtitles.
Yes, we were all trying. And then my fiance said he thought maybe that the music was too loud because he was a little quiet. And not only is he rapping fast, but it was hard to hear him. And I wondered if that was on purpose by the network. Somebody else. I don't know. Because you have to remember, this is still a major network that's putting this on. Like, you can't go that rogue, and you're still gonna have to answer to the overlords. Like, this is not like somebody took control of the whole thing. Like, this was a very choreographed, synchronized performance still, at the end of the day, that was okay.
And also keep in mind, this was carried on Fox Network, owned by Rupert Murdoch, owner of Fox News, who was buddy with Donald Trump, who was in the audience. So there were a lot of things that they had to take into consideration, I'm sure. But when you hire someone like Kendrick Lamar, you know what
you do, which is why I knew he would do not like us. Like, that's what you hired him for.
So if you're Drake,
Oh, we're gonna talk about this too. Oh,
do you just go away for a couple of years and you just don't come out? Because the glee on Kendrick Lamar's face as he was doing Not Like Us, he was like, I've won.
that was just
I've
like
won.
the
Yeah.
winning like he won the Super Bowl
Yes.
basically
Yes.
against Drake. If
He
him and
won
Drake were the Super
whole
Bowl, he won
thing.
the whole thing.
How do
I
you
thought
get
it
back
sounded-
from that? How do you come back from that? Because he's definitely planning. He's
Right.
definitely.
You just wait some years, I think, because
Yeah,
people will forget.
People have to forget,
Oh,
and you have to
God.
give it time.
Am I let me see. Wait a second if I found something with that. Because somebody was like, here, let me wrap up the Kendrick and Drake timeline. And I was like, oh, thank God. Because
So actually, if you're really interested, two of the daily podcasts I listened to, they both on Friday did deep dives into like the whole timeline. It was because there was some stuff that I didn't know about it that was
Right, me
really
too.
interesting. Because like Kendrick and Drake were friends, and like Kendrick opened for Drake back in the day.
they had
Right.
like a healthy, like
Right.
back and forth. It was kind of just, ribbing, like, we're just playing with each other. They would go back and forth.
But then I think so the podcasts are, one is The Daily by the New York Times.
Mhm.
And then the other one is Today Explained by Vox. But on Friday, they both did great explaining, detailing the entire beef between the two of them and how it's gotten to this point. But I'm like, what does Drake do? I mean, the number one song is talking about you and just making you look crazy. And I'm like, there is nobody coming to his defense. Nobody.
No, nobody really wants to stand on that.
Like, do you just, I mean, he's worth, multi-millions. Like, do you just stop? Like, do you
No.
not
Early
put out
retirement.
stuff?
No. Everybody can make a comeback. There's no such thing, I think, unless you're Diddy, perhaps.
Right.
Wow.
No, literally, I think that what Drake does is just he got to sit this one out for a couple years because our attention span is short.
Mm.
He could absolutely make a comeback. You know why I say this? Donald Trump made a comeback.
Mm.
He's
Yeah.
just got to follow that playbook where it's like,
Right.
okay, and then you just ignore it and you act like it didn't affect you and you just do your own thing.
Right.
You don't necessarily I don't even know if he plans on answering that. I feel like you can't. It's like in 8 Mile where Eminem went first
Right.
and then the other rapper was just like, I don't know, I think it was Papa Doc. He's like, I can't out rap that one. And so maybe that's where Drake is right now. Like,
Yeah.
I can't follow that with anything, but you leave it alone for a little while. And then you have to come with something really great that's maybe in a totally different vein.
Yeah.
It's got to be really good.
It has to be really good and it has to be different from any of that. And it would just have to pay that no mind because that's how you get through it. Like, if people are like, oh, how dare he be rapping again or whatever, it'll be like, people forget so quickly. Like, we all thought it was like, we were all like, Donald Trump is a convicted felon now. So it's not like he's going to be president. And he's like, watch me.
Or January 6th. They're like,
Right.
it was a day of love.
Right.
There are
They're good people.
There are enough people that
Good people on both
that
sides.
do like Drake that would give an album like, what happens if he came up with another Hotline Bling?
Right. I mean, I think because he's worth, I looked it up, $350 million. So if I were Drake or if I were on his team, I would be like, I'm sorry, $250 million. I would go away for like 2 years and like I would spend a year just enjoying being a dad.
Yes.
Spend some time on vacation, go overseas somewhere. And then the next year, work on totally redoing your brand. Like, let's just tear it down to the studs and then totally come out with like, if anyone will work with you, with some awesome collaborations and just totally come back a different Drake and don't even look in the same state that Kendrick Lamar is in.
No.
Like
it's just
stay in New
different.
York, stay in Canada, and just wait.
Do your thing. Do your thing. You have lost. You go lick your wounds,
Right.
and then you can come back. It's not like he can't ever do his job again. Like I'm sure he'll probably be fine if he can figure out how to make that twist into something new. But you're absolutely right on laying low. I mean, even Taylor Swift knew when it was time to lay it low.
Right.
When all that shit with Kim and Kanye was going on, she literally took her ass to her house and was like, well, I'm gonna set up camp here for a couple of years. And she did. And then look what happened when she came back with Reputation. It was a game changer for her because it was a new sound. People hated it, but then they fucking loved it. And it led to now she's like the biggest pop star in the entire world. But Drake can absolutely have a comeback. It's just we're in the middle of it. You can't try to do it now. And he shouldn't try to do anything now. If he has any sense or has anybody around him that's telling him what to do, you go get the fuck out.
Damn.
You can't do anything.
No. And plus too, I think he's lost. And this I would want to talk to someone who's like a hip hop reporter or in that world. But like, I feel like he's lost credibility with that audience. And so he's going to have to figure out how to get that back. But do you think Drake was like, do you think Drake went to a Super Bowl party or he was like, I'm just going to be at home?
No.
In my mansion, I would not leave my mansion.
Right. Like have like your 5 closest friends come over. And then like when the Super Bowl halftime show, you're like, I think the ribs are ready. Y'all want to go? Let's go eat. Like, let's go.
I ain't
My
watching
question
that
is,
shit.
do you think he sat and watched it live or otherwise? Or do you think he just had somebody tell him what it was about?
I would. If it were me, I would probably not have anybody over the house and I would watch it live just because I have to know. I would want to know. Yes, I would watch it live because I would want to know
if my face is plastered all over.
Right. Like, how big is it? And there's also pending litigation around it. So, maybe he was sitting in a room full of his lawyers and they were like, all right, let's pick this apart and see, do we have any more evidence for our case?
Right.
So, all right, Kelvin, how can people follow along with you to see all your stories you did about the Super Bowl yesterday?
All of them. I'll continue to post about sports at Kelvin Live, Instagram. That's pretty much it.
Holly?
Radio Holly, TikTok, Instagram, Threads.
Mine is at Miguel Fuller on Instagram, Threads, TikTok, and on Peloton. Let's do a ride together. We'll see y'all on Wednesday. Bye.